I wanted to share a book full of inspiration, and then I want to share how I've converted it to my own inspiration by what I've seen in this book. So this is the book, and then this is the Moleskine that I'll be sharing with you after I give you a little peruse through the book. This is In Pursuit of Inspiration, Trust Your Instincts and Make More Art by Rae Dunn. Now, if Rae Dunn sounds familiar, you'll see her pottery everywhere now. And I just love her artwork. When I saw this book, I was like, yes, even just this, I was already energized. Like, oh my gosh, I've got to get this book. I like her writing. I like the way that she talks about her art and being inspired by everyday items. If you've followed me for any amount of time, you know that I find inspiration from everything. And it's usually everyday nature. So let's take a look. Seeing Beauty. I love her headlines. I like the way that she puts things together. Some are her art, some are things that she's found, some are pictures that she's taken. But isn't this just a really eclectic style already? You know you're in for a feast, right? When you see this already and you're just like, yes, bring me closer, Kelly, bring me closer. So there's the artwork. Isn't it just cool, her inspiration? When you see so many different things that you could now take and be inspired by. I mean, just look, a school bus that's been really desaturated so that it's not bright yellow. But what I find about it too really inspiring is look at all the squares and then look at all the different circles everywhere of different colors, right? Even the bus is almost a square. Then it's got rectangle, it's got little square tires. So take a look at that closer. You could just be inspired by those shapes. And I love that. We're on page 1. You'll see throughout the book, she puts little collections for herself together. And I love, like, looks like tea bags, but then she's painted art on there. It's just pieces of paper, but I love the way that she did that. Look how she's just grouped things for you to take inspiration from. I mean, I love these. Look at these. So how could you create something like that in your art? They look like tiny plates, don't they? So I want you to stop right now, and I want you to just look at your space. And what could you paint super tiny like that and super cute in an oval or in a circle or in a square, and just make it a collection of things? I think that that is such a beautiful concept for us to look beyond what's on the page here, but think about how we can turn it into something we can use with our collections, what we like. You know, I can see tiny plates of leaves, of course, leaves and acorns. That would be awesome. Even making these maybe the shape of the acorns and painting tiny leaves in there. I would love that. Look at all the lists, all different sizes, all different shapes. We all make them, so keep them, put them in a pile. That's fun. Listen to this message. See, draw, and repeat. She says, I like to devote an entire sketchbook to drawing one object over and over again. This teaches me how to really see something and eventually even how to think about the object differently. So think about keys. We all have them. We all have a lot of them usually. And if you took them all out and then studied them and made some longer and some fatter, change the angle of which you're looking at it and the perspective, just focus on maybe the end. But look how beautiful of a page that is. Studying the patina on it, especially if you have like those old keys with rust on it and it's got paint on it and it's chipping and cracking. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. She's studying the shadows inside the holes here and adding depth to the key. You can see that she's adding the thickness of the key. Here she does a little study so she can understand how it works. Black and white with a cool shadow. And you know how to do this for my shadow video with just a flashlight. Everyday things. There's nothing special here. We all have things like this. Black ink, scissors, a little brush, cupcakes, right? It's just everyday things. She does a lot with food. Look at that. Now, doesn't that make you want to kind of deconstruct your dinner next time that you're making things? Like, okay, what did I put in this? Okay, there's some onions, there's some radishes, there's some tomatoes, there's pasta, there's sauce. And think about filling just a whole spread with the ingredients that you had. She talks about her collections. Isn't this just beautiful, seeing it all laid out like this? I get much pleasure seeing that I'm not the only one that collects little tape measures or rulers or keys, but it's also things that connect to me. You know, when I was a kid, I had an old skeleton key. That was our house key. And I was the generation of latchkey kids, so I used to wear this giant thing around my neck. You know, I mean, look how big that skeleton key is. It's quite large. I love all the little containers here holding the tape measures. How many of us have more than one ruler? I'm raising my hand. I have about 17. Do you remember these erasers? Old typewriter erasers. You would erase them here, and there's a little brush here for brushing them away. Monogrammed linens. Look at all her sketchbooks. Don't you want to peek inside? I know I do too. So I'm just going to flip through. You can see again, she's just given herself like a daily practice of taking one item and just doing it on a little piece of paper and then just painting it and dating it. Flora and fauna. Look how inspirational that is. Now think about if you had something, you can easily go buy a cork board or put some wire, chicken wire on a frame and stick things like this to that, just so that it's there and you can be inspired by it. Look at it, change it throughout the seasons, or maybe it's things that you find when you're on walks or with a friend. And it's just really cool to look at, but I would enjoy painting that as well. Talks about letters. If you look at her pottery, it all has cool letters on it. Oh, look at all those old handwritings. Wow, I collect old journals, so I love that. Color. Look at those color inspiration pages. Now just imagine even making a palette out of this. Just taking like, okay, I'm going to take this green object. How many colors do you see there? There's kind of a yellow green, there's kind of an avocado-y green here, there's a bright green, there's almost a blue green in the shadow. So right there, just a study of palette would be beautiful. Even on this shoe, look at that. It's got a more yellow here, more red orange here, deeper orange, a deeper maroon in there. The sole's kind of a creamy color. Again, if you just use pictures that you see and create palettes from it, it's going to help you mix, it's going to help you expand, it's going to help you start seeing that everything has value as an artist. I mean, think about using this as just a palette. A mixing palette, mixing guide, where you have to mix this bright pink, but you also have to mix this dirty color in here with the bright pink, right? So it's probably a mix of the green, this little turquoise, and a little bit of pink to get this kind of muddy color here. But something like this, you could literally play for a half hour and come up with a lot of different colors around that. So don't discard anything. Everything has value for an artist, whether it changes the way you see things or you perceive things. I mean, look, those are just bowls of color, but look how beautiful they look. And don't you just want to dip your brush in there, right? And wonder, is that indigo ink? What is it? Is it paint? What colors are they, right? What brands are they? Look at all the different colors here. Things you collect and how to store them. And then she leaves you some note pages. As you see, everything that you are connected to or that you are drawn to is inspiration for yourself. You might not know that. So let's say that you collect necklaces. What kind of necklaces? Are they handmade? Are they vintage? Are they new? Are they sculpted? Are they using old pieces? What kind of jewelry do you collect? Because that is individual to you. You know, I like jewelry that is made with old vintage things, like door handles or a belt buckle or an old brooch that now is a necklace. Each of us is individual. So when you understand that, you see just how unique you are. And as artists, I want you to realize that your voice and your style and your individuality and your personality matters, because we are all different and we explore things in different ways. As you saw in this book, just putting them together and taking a photograph is so beautiful. So imagine a whole book, maybe a photo album where that's all you did, or imagine sticking up a corkboard in your studio and it's all the photographs that you've taken. And just think about how that would give you inspiration at a glance. I know I would look at it and be like, what do I want to paint today? And that would get my juices flowing and my ideas just coming, you know, one after another. Now I want to show you how this inspired my book. So this is a Moleskine, and it's just a regular Moleskine. I'm not a fan of the paper. However, I was doing really light washes of watercolor here. It was mostly, I wanted to play with pen and ink and watercolor, but I wanted to do collections of things. You can see here, I had this old matchbook that I bought at a store, but I liked it because it was a black and white cover. And they had these matches, and I just decided to kind of place them on the page and make it a design element. Why matches, you ask? Well, because they intrigued me. It's that simple. I mean, if you think about a piece of wood that you strike and it starts a fire, and we sell these as matches. I just think the whole concept is great. But I also like the structure of them as well, that, you know, this has all those little charcoal pieces or lead. I really don't know what's on there, but then the matchsticks had all this texture of wood. This was on the logo of the box on the back side, so I just decided to put it out here, and you really don't even notice it. I wanted it to kind of look like they were falling, but I wanted them to lead back to the people here. Buttons. I have a big box of buttons. Some I've collected through antique stores. Some are just really weird buttons that I bought for texture. But I thought just taking them, and all I did was lay them down and trace them. So I started for some of the big buttons, and then I worked around there. And then as you got to the back, you can see there's just a little portion of this button showing. They tuck all behind. But I love the way that that looks. And then I started shading some with just a little bit of pen and ink. But I didn't want to do the whole page. I was more interested in the form and the design of it. And you can see this big one here, it's huge, but then it kind of leads your eye up and around. And that's exactly what I was playing with, is design, trying to make it on the page, trying to make it interesting to look at, besides just a button here, here, and here. So pile them up and draw them. I collect games. I love games because they remind me of my childhood. And I never played bunco, but my mom, when I was a kid, used to have bunco parties. And what I remember of that is that we got to help with the snacks and, of course, eat some as well. But we would hear the dice all night long, and we would just hear the laughter and them, you know, talking. And it was just really nice. It's a nice memory. So I think about all of my mom's friends. And I just think about as a kid sneaking off, you know, and listening to the conversation. I collect little charms. I have a whole little tote box of little charms. And I just thought, what else can I do with charms besides like just showing a charm? Here I put them on a bookmark. Here I had it hanging from a pair of scissors. These are those little word cubes that you get that say different things, like they'll say like him, her, I, she, they, you know, around the 6 sides. But I just said, let's play, go. And you can see, it's just really all about those little card charms because I really liked them. And you can see it's an interesting design. Can I take you over this way? Instead of just placing them one little item at a time, try to make it have a nice design where you're interested in it. Monopoly was my favorite game as a child. And I still play it today, actually. I just laid some items down and just kind of recreated the colors that they were, from the game board to the dice to the little hotels, well, the hotels, the houses. Makes me smile. I started collecting little needle cases because I found them along with pencil leads a lot of times in the antique stores. And I like anything that will come in a little tube. I am drawn to little pieces all the time. And this one was actually kind of aluminum or tin, where this one was wooden. And then I had a little thing for needles that kind of unrolled. Think of how you can have like a brush roll where you roll the brushes, but this was a little one for needles. And I decided to add some buttons, but I also added the line here like that was the thread. So I did it kind of in and out, and you'll see you don't notice a solid line of color going through her because I didn't want you to see the line of color first. Had I done it like a color book line, it would have stood out too much. What I wanted you to notice was all the little things first, and then see that the thread connects it all and makes the design a little more interesting. And then these were some of the things that I had taken with me on a vacation. So I just laid them out one morning and I just sat and drew them while everyone was still sleeping. And you can see I have pencils and pens, little leads. I spilled the leads out to make it look like they were kind of falling. And these were some pen nibs. And I just had a really fun time with this page. We all have favorite supplies. It's just a way for us to look at them. And you can see there's the charm of that truck again that I love. So that's how I interpreted my things that I collect, my pursuit of inspiration. I hope this has inspired you to try some of your own and get this book. It will just make you look at things so differently. And I appreciate when an artist pushes you like that. If you were inspired today, please like, comment, or subscribe. It will help my channel grow and I'd really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.